didn't want to put it on here.
Steal that and use it.
Okay, it is 7:35. I will call the work session of the mayor and council to order. 6:30. You know, I can wishful think.
Unless you're on time.
We will first start with tonight's regular business and public hearing meeting. We have the invitation tonight. I'll ask us all to have a moment of reflection and prayer for J.R. Snell that's in the hospital over in George Walton Academy for the Snell family. Your announcements, we received a copy of them. We don't have any ceremonial matters tonight. Does anyone have any objections or changes to the minutes from the September 10th meeting? We'll have our department reports. We'll have Ferris is here for the Board of Appeals. Mr. Brooks should be here for the CID, and Ms. McElwain should be here for staff. The consent agenda. We all received an email from Mr. Sanders that this first item will need to be postponed, so if I can just have someone object to it being on the consent agenda, and then that will place it under item number C, under new business.
That's a situation where we just don't have a solid agreement to bring to the mayor and council. And we're working on it, but it may take a couple of weeks, and I would just like to delay it indefinitely until we have something that we all can bring back to you and support.
So you're asking for a motion to move it to
Item C.
First I'll ask if there's any objections to the consent agenda, and I'll need someone to say they object to item number B, and that will automatically move it to C. And then when we get to C under new business, I'll need
A to C.
I'll move it to C.
Okay.
And when we get to new business, I'll need a motion to postpone indefinitely. We're not gonna put a date certain on that. We're gonna just wait for staff to get back to us on that. And then item number B, consideration action on opportunity zone memorandum of understanding. Does anybody have any questions or objections for that?
Is this the, excuse me, I may, is this the $5,000 out of URA?
Yes.
Is that in this one? The only problem I have with that is that we're taking that money out of URA funds, and URA has not approved that. So I have no problem with it. I think we need to pull it off the consent agenda and put it under new business, and then approve it with the condition that it's approved by the URA, because they haven't really approved it yet.
That's fine, but the URA funds were not actually funds that we were given to the URA. Those were funds that economic development was going to use on URA projects, but those were controlled by the council and staff, not
Yeah,
by
but I
the
still
URA.
think, I mean, the URA is involved in it. I mean, why would we want to put them on their knees and tell them that $5,000 without having them involved in the process?
And that's probably my fault, because I knew that the URA approved the plan, the redevelopment plan, and I just assumed that everybody was on the same page. They knew that was a prerequisite for the MOU with Evermore, so that's my fault there. But approving it contingent would be great.
I don't think there's a problem.
We
I'm
still
on the
do
URA. I don't
follow.
think there's a problem.
Okay.
It's just that I think those people need to sign off.
All right, so if you want to object to that, that will make it item number D under new business, and then we can have a motion to postpone or to approve contingent, whatever y'all choose to do.
Tom, we do a motion to approve.
Yeah, I'll do one. Yeah, a motion to approve with the condition, the condition on it that it's also approved by the URA, contingent on approval of the URA.
motion to move it to the consent agenda.
Yeah.
All right, then we have the first reading, that'll be the only thing left on the consent agenda, first reading, consideration action on amendment to the alcohol beverage ordinance. That's what we discussed last time, to prorate that and to change the due date to comply with our occupational tax licenses as well. Anybody have any questions or problems with that?
No, I did ask though at the time we did we can compare our fees with the county and surrounding cities to make sure we're on the same plane and make sure we're in the same ballpark with them.
I got a staff person just to pull them all. They're putting together that package for everybody.
Thank
That then will bring us to our old business. We have consideration action on the Family Garden Center. Mr. Davis, anything you can tell us?
Basically, Family Garden Center is asking for relief from having to do complete remodel plans up to code for the center as it is. Planning heard their request and agreed to it with conditions noted in the agenda package I dropped here. I think it's something we should approve. They're a good, solid business. They're making things look awfully good on that end of 78.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Davis or about this rezoning? We then have public input on the urban redevelopment plan. We received a copy of this last week from Eric. I have received some phone calls from some people over in Zone 4 that live in the Hickory Hills subdivision. They have some concerns because it touches some of their neighborhood, and I think it actually includes a couple of their parcels. I think I'll probably send the emails back and forth with Eric, myself, and some of their members. I guess I would ask the council to consider drawing those parcels out of the URA map. Eric, I don't know.
I need to know which specific parcels they are, and that's an opportunity that council certainly has the authority to do. But yeah, we just need to know which parcels they would be. And there is the one lot that I mentioned to you that's a single lot that seems to have the little thumb into that area. Either we'd have to exclude that whole piece of property probably, but we can look at that. The only reason that one little spot that I mentioned is part of that larger property. But if there's other lots that they think are in there, then this can be amended.
And I think the purpose that the Zone 4 was included was because of that industrial area that is on Lenore Church Road, but the industrial area doesn't abut the neighborhood, but I think if you look at the map does abut the neighborhood.
Are these people gonna speak tonight, do you know if they're gonna come?
I'm not certain. I have received some phone calls and some emails from them.
What's their problem with it? They don't want to be redeveloped?
No, they like their neighborhood. They like their large lots and their quiet neighborhood, and they don't necessarily want it to be an industrial area. They understand that down the street may be an industrial area, but not their neighborhood, or not abutting to it, so. Questions, comments?
I think what we do what we need to do. I mean, it's the fourth section, right?
Yeah.
And we've got a long way to go before we rest, and we get to number 4. So why stir up a problem now for something that's 10, 12 years down the road? I think we need to, concentrate on areas 1 and 2, mostly is the way I look at it. So, where emphasis should be, I don't think we should worry about getting people concerned over Zone 4 we may never get to. So I think whatever parcels we need taken out, we take them out.
Well, if there's already concern from the citizens, I tend to want to lean that those individuals that are having issues with the plan the way it is, to have a meeting here at City Hall, possibly with you and the city manager, and have them voice their concerns about what is it, and possibly then present to us what areas they're trying to fence out of that zone for. Although it may take 10, 12 years to happen, if it's not properly planned, it might.
But if we take them out, they're satisfied.
Go ahead, do it.
So do we want to take them out tonight, or do we want to meet with the URA board and bring this back on our next agenda?
I think we need to be specific. I think let's make sure which ones are requested to be out, confirm it, get them out, and then we don't have to revisit it, I guess. I'm just saying, if we take, 2 more weeks to, we take 2 more weeks to verify, I think, it just solves the problem for the future. And let's just be specific. Those that are impacted, they want out, let them out.
Two just points of consideration for that. One is there can be minor amendments to the agenda, to any of the redevelopment areas just done by the URA, not needing council's approval. And if this is that situation, all they would need to do is come to the next URA meeting, which is next Tuesday, and identify those exact ones under council's authority and just take them out. The other point of just consideration is from the action items that the CID is trying to move forward with, they're really on a shorter time frame now, needing the URA plan passed to move forward with the opportunity zone process. So it can be passed contingent on that, redevelopment 4 being redone. It could, you guys could pass it tonight just based on make it the business park, and then the URA can deal with it from there. There's, you know, whatever we want to do, if you want to do that.
I would not feel comfortable, I mean, council is saying we approve this map, and so if we are saying we approve it, we're giving the citizens saying we do approve your houses or your parcels. So I wouldn't feel comfortable letting the URA change it if it's something that council has approved. I don't think that sends the right message to the people. Mr. Brooks will be here tonight. If we've got some concerns about postponing it, we can ask him what the CID's timetable is for moving forward, and then council can make the decision if y'all want to make changes in your motion, or if you want to make a motion to postpone it.
How did the map get generated in the first place?
The URA had several meetings back in January and February looking at all the areas, and the members of the URA made those boundaries.
And the time they made it, they didn't meet with the neighborhood or anything like that, though, right?
So what would be the time delay if we postpone this until our next meeting for a formal council vote? Would that have a big impact?
Well, what I mentioned was the CID is moving forward with their opportunity zone processes. Last time I talked with Jim Brooks, he was thinking they were going to be applying for those opportunity zones sometime the end of this month. And he was actually hoping that the urban redevelopment plan would be approved at the first meeting in September. So we would delay our engagement with them, and that's, you know, you can, certainly I haven't got new information from Jim Brooks, so on their timing, we're welcome to check into that. The council just wanted to make the amendment to approve it tonight with the zone reduced just to the business park, and then it can be handled in the future as Councilman Witt has indicated. That is zone 4. It's basically identified in case we had opportunity to help somebody down there.
But you're saying approve zone 1, 2, and 3 and leave 4 out of the what is?
Confine it to just the business park and not move it down first.
And not the RS.
Is everybody in agreement with that for tonight? Okay. So I'll look at for the appropriate motion on the right. New business, consideration action on the purchase of a 911 console for communications center.
What that is?
Yeah.
Basically, you know we're about to become a secondary PSAP, public safety answering point. And that means that we're going to have computers that allow us to receive the anti-alley information, automatic number indicator, automatic location indicator. The county has agreed to purchase 2 for each city. Lawrenceville needs 4, and we actually need our 3rd one, because there'll be times we'll have 3 people in the center, and they ought to all 3 be able to take those calls. They won't purchase that particular piece of equipment, but going forward, they'll pick up all the maintenance contracts and everything on it. And then probably by the time, if we're to ever have to be replaced, they would then pick up the purchase of it, because we would be able to have enough call volume according to what the numbers they set out to say that we would be able to have 3. But it's it is the 3rd public safety answering point, so that we can receive that anti-alley information.
Any questions for the chief?
Is this something that could come out of confiscated assets?
If we had that much to do, we probably could, but
How much is this?
but I think it's more appropriate, like, because we got it out of the SDS anyway, and that's what it is, that money would come out of that.
It's coming out of the SDS?
I mean, out of this, the money that went into the undesignated fund balance based on the money we received from SDS.
Okay, so it is SDS funds paying for it, it's just in an account that is unspecified at this particular time, is that what
It's in our fund, it's in the general fund balance from the money we received from SDS.
But it's the lump sum payment we received,
But
it's
it
not
wasn't specifically
reimbursement.
911?
No, it was not.
Would this tie into locating individuals via cell phones?
It gives you some of the information for cell phone, like it gives you the GPS locations, which we can tie to an address. that's close by, but then you have to continue to ping it if it's moving. Doesn't give you the exact information from the cell phone.
But it's the same that our other two it's gonna be the same system that our
Right.
other two consoles are gonna have, so it's just a third one.
Okay.
Now, let me backtrack for a minute. Under old business, under B, we'll actually just be having public comments. We won't have any motion under B. And so the motion on the plan will be made under B for new business. Okay. That brings us to our work session agenda.
Can I ask, why do we have it on two different, why do we have it under old business and then again under new business?
Public hearing.
For a public hearing.
You're having a public hearing, and so that's the key ingredient. You're voting on it under old business, but it's the public hearing portion of the business.
Which has to be held and was
Is it
advertised.
new old business or old business?
It's both.
Yeah, and so, like the first time. I got some of each, give me one of each.
Do we have any correspondence to review? Mr. Sanders?
No.
Any city attorney's report?
Just to let you know that the redesign on the Flower Street has gone well, and we've communicated and gotten approval from the two property owners affected, so those are moving along. And the negotiations are moving along on those. There are three left. Looks like there were four pending. One of them's already settled. Looks like we're gonna settle two more, leaving just one to really deal with. So making progress.
Is that me?
Well, it's not exactly you. You happen to be in the line. Your office.
Moving on to discussion items, the jetback truck purchase for the stormwater.
That is, the Public Works Department has arranged for a demonstration of the City of Loganville truck, which is very much like what we have spec'd out and would like to lease purchase. And that will be at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon at the entrance to Summit Chase. It will be a very good, I went by there and looked at those basins. It will be a good test of the capabilities of that truck. So I'm sorry it couldn't be at a different time, but it is the City of Logan. They're taking it out of service to bring it here. And I'm very thankful for that, and because I like to demo equipment, especially big equipment like this, before it's purchased. And I think, given what I've heard from Gay and Craig and Kathy, and knowing what I know about jet trucks like this, should do the job. But I'd love for as many people to be present as possible to actually see it.
Any questions on the jetpack?
If we all show up there, do we need to public notice?
No, it's a demonstration project. I mean, that is allowable under the law.
You shouldn't discuss any other city business while you're hanging around. If you're gonna do that, you need to advertise it, but otherwise, you can watch the truck work.
Any other questions? Group home moratorium?
This is, y'all have seen the format for it. It's just to give us an opportunity to review the criteria for group homes that sort of got raised with the last one that y'all got to see. And there appear to be several more in the making. And it's not to really interfere with any existing businesses. I did get a chance to talk to the several quality folks who are most concerned about it today, and explain we weren't targeting them or anything. It was simply to give y'all the chance to put in criteria that were supportive, not targeting any particular.
We are re-implementing the moratorium at this juncture, because we had done that before, when we did Mr. Davis, didn't we?
Yeah,
We had a moratorium before, which
We did.
expired, right?
We had a moratorium from first or second week in November
Right.
through sometime in January when we adopted the new ordinance.
I missed that one,
Mm-hmm.
but it was.
Paid for you.
This one just goes through the end of March.
I've got notes, and I think we got video.
And, but the, you know, the purpose of it is to give some thought to the things that came up in that last hearing. And, you know, you got fire code issues that come into play and accessibility
So we're just
issues.
implementing an additional one.
Just give you time to look at it and think through criteria.
What do we need to do while the moratorium's on, so when it comes off, we're,
Ready to go.
That's-
Yeah, ready to
that's what
start
you're handling?
receiving and updating those.
If you remember last time we did one because we were updating our zoning for group homes. And so we've updated it, but it's come to light that maybe we need more updates. It's not right where we thought it was gonna be. And so this will let us do another moratorium so that we can update the zoning, while the moratorium.
And you have
moratorium's in place.
significant events occurring around you, not just going through it and seeing it was one significant event, but you've also had a lot of financial accountability issues that have popped up that the state's not regulating, that falls on your shoulders to make sure your folks are, you got substantial, well-run, economically sound businesses in these areas. You may,
We are going to address the fire safety issues and sprinkler system and things like that.
and those are things that they come into play. The fire code, your fire code does overlay that, and some of those are exempt because they're smaller number of folks, or the group's not large enough to qualify under the fire code, but it may be something in specialized circumstances that you want to impose your own regulation.
so this is gonna go beyond strictly zoning, which is essentially now, that's the only purview we have over them, is zoning, if they meet the zoning requirements.
You know, zoning is really a broad process. It's not just limited to how many square feet and what the setback requirements are. It's uses, and this use has some unusual ingredients that go with it, and it gets created because of state laws. Now shifting from institutionalized care to this private residency care, and it's in sort of it's not new, but it's one that's still being tested as to how it should work, and so you know, it's something that you've got to devise your relationship with those to be thoughtful, and it goes beyond just space requirements and building materials. And right now, we don't. We've got a certain size lot and a certain setback issues, but you don't really delve into the economics of how they're run. And frankly, nobody has been doing that. And even in talking to, you know, in a conversation with the cerebral palsy, they recognize it, as there are a lot of outfits in this business who shouldn't be. And although they're quality group, you know, they have a lot of facilities, it's something that, you know, if you're gonna take care of your citizens and be able to really regulate it when it comes into those communities, you need some more criteria
When will this go into effect?
tonight.
No, it's not on our agenda tonight.
The moratorium would go into effect immediately upon passage.
It'll be on, if everybody's okay with it, it'll be on our next council agenda.
Okay, just a thought. When we sit down and discuss what we need to discuss about this during the moratorium, is it possible for the planning commission and the city council members to get together in a work session and really work through this and not just, you know,
Absolutely.
I mean, really sit down and work more heads rather than,
I think we start
Work
with
together.
getting a draft from the staff and from our city
Right.
attorney, and then we can
Okay.
take it from there. If we wanna call a special work session and sit down and go over it, we can.
I would like to include that in.
Just in terms of communication, so that y'all know, moratoriums usually come out of the blue real quickly and get passed. And the purpose.
Can we add it to tonight's
Yeah,
agenda?
the purpose of those is to keep people from running in and filing a bunch of applications because they get vested rights in them. And this is something that, you know, it's a communication issue. It's something that you don't normally announce in advance to
We
avoid
do it
the
as an
same,
emergency measure?
same purpose. Yes, I mean, this is just a resolution to impose a moratorium, and it's case supported that you can impose it immediately, even though you got a 2-read requirement. Because you're just putting the status quo. You're not really changing the law with this. You're just stopping the receipt of applications.
How do we get it on, how do we get it on tonight's agenda
You
if it
just
wasn't?
make a motion to add it to the agenda.
Okay.
This is general meeting of the mayor and council. It doesn't have to be specific. Y'all can do all kind of things at the last minute.
Does it affect the cerebral palsy and the? or just-
Doesn't affect anybody already in.
No,
motion.
in operation. What I understand your planning commission has already done is they've tabled these.
We've tabled one of them. We've got cerebral palsy again tomorrow night. And if you were to impose the moratorium now through some future date, what we'd probably do is call them up in the morning and say, we're gonna table y'all. If you don't wanna waste time coming back, go ahead.
Is that gonna be a huge problem?
I think you sort of deal with that one on a case by case. I'm not sure exactly what their issue would be, but they would already have some rights to be heard.
And we've already communicated with them that there is a possibility that a moratorium would be installed. I don't think they would care.
Because they just continue.
They continue operating, right. Nothing happens. It's sort of like this ongoing thing with Family Tree.
Yeah.
It's been going on for about 6 months now. Once they got it in ahead of their schedule, they didn't care if it took 2 months, 6 months, 5 years. It was irrelevant.
What about the one that was already tabled?
The one that's tabled is,
Still tabled.
it's still tabled.
Okay.
And it's tabled till,
But are they in, they're
March.
in, they're not gonna have to comply with the new?
they're there.
They were
They're
pushed
in
6
place.
months. We're talking about Chris kids, aren't we?
Yeah,
Chris kids, yeah, they've been tabled for 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's just,
so-
it starts all over again in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
They got 6 months free ride.
They get a 6 month free ride, yeah.
So really, nothing's impacted if we do this tonight.
Zip.
Is that?
And the only thing that's impacted is nobody out there that might be thinking about this will be able to do it in the 2 weeks that they could do
Well,
it.
that's the impact we want.
Yeah, it's the impact you want.
All right, so after the objections to the consent agenda, if I can have a motion to amend the agenda to add item number E, group home moratorium under new business.
Got it.
Moving on, under our work session C, transfer of ownership of the old public safety building to the URA. May I have a motion, what?
Yes, I think we discussed this once before, but basically what we've got is the old police station over on, where's that? Springdale. And, you know, it's been vacant now since January 2012, is that right?
11.
2011, right, sorry. It's just sitting there, there's problems with the roof, there's other problems, it's not getting any better. We're just watching the value of it decrease on a daily basis, and I think it's time we did something with it, and what I understand, the best thing to do with that is to give it to an agency of the city like the URA, who could then market to sell it, and bring us back an offer, or, you know, work an offer on and get rid of it. Right now, it's kind of like a white elephant for us. It's not doing us any good, and it's, as I said, it's deteriorating as the days go by. So I think we need to move on it and turn it into an asset.
Would that include maintaining the cell tower lease area and the impound lot
The
and?
impound lot would be, is part of the impound lot is part of that building, is it not, Chief?
It's part of that
It's on that property.
Yeah, we would probably have to work on reviewing on the ingress and egress for that cell tower. And, you know, because the building is what really is not getting it.
Going downhill.
We still use the impound lot though, our police department does, so.
Well, I'm sure the URA let them use it until it's sold, but at least we get it, it's doing nothing now. And you're paying an awful, you know, you're losing a lot of money on that to keep it as an impound lot. It's a pretty expensive impound lot at this point. So anyway, I'd just like to have Eric give the URA and see if they're something that they're agreeable to, and if they are, ask council to approve the transfer, and let's see what we can do with it.
Anybody else? I know there was a lot of issues when we transferred the old police department to the DDA. There was a lot of issues, there was a lot of public backlash on how that whole thing was handled, so, I would just ask if we're gonna do it, there needs to be a contract with a whole lot of restrictions in the contract as far as council approval and, use of the impound lot, use of the cell tower, who retains the benefit, the money that the rental money that we receive from the cell tower and things like that.
Well, absolutely has to be done the right way.
The one thing in that area is, and this is not something that I've seen or researched, but just came up in the environment of another city question. And a bond council gave the opinion that URA could not negotiate contracts, whereas DDA can. Now, I thought it was just I thought URA's abilities were broader than DDA's. So I only raise that to tell you there may be an issue. It may
Okay,
be.
you investigate that one?
Yeah, we'll take a look at that and the same, but I just wanna make sure that URA can do, because I think that's what you're saying. You
Yeah.
wanna be able to negotiate.
Whatever, I mean, the DDA, of course, doesn't come in under the DDA's area, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's gotta
let's
be in their service area.
Put this back on our next work session with an update from staff and from the city attorney. If staff could give us an update on what resources are on the property as far as city resources or concerns as far as ingress and egress. And if you could give us an opinion as to whether it's something we can actually do, and we'll address it again on another work session. Opinion on the vacant property